If you want to improve the outcome of your watercolor paintings with just one change to your materials, this is the video for you. If you're frustrated with the outcome of your paintings because you can't get the soft edges and beautiful blending of pigments that you see in the works of other artists, you might be making this mistake. Keep watching to learn more. Hi, my name is Kris and welcome to my studio. This channel is all about tools, tips, and tutorials for growing in watercolor. In today's video, I am unveiling the one tip I give to all of my watercolor students when I find them frustrated with their watercolor painting results. Here is what I often see. My students often struggle with the way that the pigments and water behave on the paper. The paint seems to dry very quickly, leaving hard edges and streaks of paint. Or they get big blooms as the water seems to float along the top of the paper, disturbing the previous washes. They find it very difficult to get the beautiful gradient washes of color that they want. They're also unable to get the kind of subtle blending of colors that they see other artists achieving in their paintings. If you came to me with these same issues, the first thing I would ask you is, what kind of paper are you using? So often when I ask this question, I discover my students are not using 100% cotton watercolor paper. Rather, they're using a less expensive paper that's labeled watercolor, but it's not 100% cotton. This is the problem. Now, I understand why people choose these papers, because quite honestly, 100% cotton paper is expensive. When people first see the prices of cotton paper, they kind of get sticker shock, especially if they're just getting started in watercolor. They are very hesitant to pay those prices, especially if they're just trying out watercolor for the first time. They might talk themselves into using a less expensive paper to get started, telling themselves, well, I'll upgrade when I get better. But this is a mistake. It's a mistake for several reasons. When you're just learning, the last thing you want to do is handicap yourself with poor quality materials. Non-cotton paper actually makes it harder to learn watercolor. You end up struggling against the paper and getting frustrated. When you get frustrated, you may give up. Believe me, when you're learning is the worst time to have your materials fighting against you. Another thing to keep in mind is that many of the most loved qualities of watercolor are best achieved on 100% cotton paper. Watercolor is known for its soft blending of colors and transparent washes, and people love the translucent quality of paint on white paper that makes it look like the painting is kind of glowing with color. Here's the truth. When you paint on 100% cotton paper, the pigments and water simply behave differently on cotton than on wood pulp papers. The washes dry more slowly and more evenly. As the pigments blend in the fibers of the paper, they produce beautiful translucent effects. So cotton paper actually helps you achieve the effects of watercolor that so many people admire. So here's what I suggest that you do. Number one, first check the paper that you're using. Does it explicitly say 100% cotton on the packaging? If not, it's probably not 100% cotton. Many papers are made with a portion of cotton, like around 25%, but they're not 100% cotton. I would avoid these papers. Also, there are lots of papers that are labeled watercolor paper, but they do not contain cotton. They're made from wood pulp and do not respond to water and pigment the way that cotton papers do. Number two, I'd encourage you to just try using 100% cotton paper. Just try it. Buy a few sheets or a pad of paper and give it a try. I can tell you, I have actually heard numerous students in my classes exclaim out loud in class, "Oh my goodness, I love this paper." They actually experience the difference in their very first painting. Trust me, when this happens, all concerns for the price of the paper seem to go out the window. They realize that the investment in this most important ingredient is worth it. Maybe they'll go without morning lattes for a couple weeks to buy the paper, but they will find a way to afford it. I think this is really true in life, that we can find a way to afford something if it is truly important to us. I want to encourage you to make painting on cotton paper a priority. And finally, number three, once you try cotton paper and love it, choose a brand of paper and stick with it for a while. There are differences in the brands of cotton paper. Some have more sizing, some are more absorbent, some are softer. I have tried almost all of them in my years of painting, and I have settled on a certain brand that I love. Now I just keep going back to that brand. This way, I know what to expect every time I start a painting. I know how the water and the paint will respond on that paper. I know how much time I have before the paper dries. I know how it will respond to lifting and scrubbing. If I were to change my paper all the time, I would not have this kind of familiarity with the paper and the confidence that that can bring. That would introduce unknown variables that I just don't need. We all know watercolor is hard enough without introducing unnecessary challenges. One more thing, if you're wondering what that brand of watercolor paper is that I use and keep on using, check out the links in the video description below. Now, if you're finding this content to be helpful and insightful, if you're learning something you didn't know, you might want to check out my free course. It's called Getting Started in Watercolor. When I started my watercolor journey, I had tons of questions about what materials and supplies I needed. I watched YouTube videos and just ended up confused by all the information out there. Now that I'm teaching others, I hear the same questions from my students that I had years ago. So I decided to create a free online course in which I review watercolor paper, brushes, paints, and palettes. I even show you how I set up my creative space. You can find the class on my website at studio.krisdebruine.com. And did I mention? It is free. This is my gift to you for being a part of this growing watercolor community. In addition to this valuable free course, I also have a growing collection of premium watercolor resources. I have video courses as well as quick guides, which are essentially a watercolor lesson in a PDF. In all of these tutorials, I demonstrate my painting process as well as letting you look inside my thought process as I paint with this fascinating medium of watercolor. I think you'll enjoy these resources. So thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel as I am regularly adding new content. Have a great day and keep on growing in watercolor.